Okay, let's make a start, inshallah. Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan tayyiba wa amalan mutaqabbala. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-ikhlas. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala nabiyyina Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My dear sisters, and welcome to ayah number 17. Just one day to go. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. You know, Allah's brought us this far, and we give thanks and praises to Him for enabling and facilitating this for us as an opportunity to really learn. And Alhamdulillah, we've had an opportunity to learn both the recitation and the understanding. So, one day to go, inshallah. It's always a little bit sad when we come to the end, isn't it? But Alhamdulillah, you know, we think of the positives and we think about the doors and the opportunities that Allah's given us, and we are grateful for that. Allah says in the Quran, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are grateful, I'll give you more. So if we are grateful for these opportunities, Allah will open up more opportunities for us. And I ask that Allah makes that feasible for all of us. Ameen. Okay. Let's get started and start with the isti'adha, of course. So if I can start with you, Sister Farhat, today. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
جزاكم الله خيرا. Okay, we start with this ayah, and he starts off with the word يمنون. We haven't actually had an ayah that starts with this word at all. We've had a lot of familiar startings, you know, Ya ayyuhalladhina, Ya ayyuhannasu, innalladhina. This is a new word, yamunnuna. So what are we doing here? We start off with a light ya. We have two, I was about to say dhammatain, not dhammatain, but we have two dhammas together. You could say dhammatain, it's just not on the same letter, but they are following on from each other. So you have to make sure that you circle the lips. When you say yamun, remember the akmal gunna here, noon mushaddad, akmal gunna. We hold the joining, yamun, and then we also hold the nu part. It's two counts, it's a normal mad tabi'i. If we continue reading, because of the mad waw. Okay, so the mad waw is your mad tabi'i harakatain, waslan. However, for those of you that have done the course, waqfan, this would be mad arid li sukun, 2, 4, or 6 counts. Okay, yamunnuna. You come to the last noon now, because you've stretched this first noon here. Yamunnuna. Be careful not to then stretch the noon at the end. This is only one count. Okay, so be careful of that. We then move on to the word alayka. Alayka. Now again, we have the ya preceded with a letter that has a fatha. Remember, this is called a lean ya. Okay, when we have a lean ya, you are pronouncing the first letter from its makhraj, and then you are moving to the makhraj of the ya. The ya is a rakhawa letter, so we can prolong it. Okay, you can keep it going for a bit. Alayka, alayka. Okay. With the ya, remember we have discussed the ya in the past. Just a reminder that you've got to make sure that you haven't got the breath. The ya is a letter of jahr. It only relies on the sound of your voice. So if you're pushing the breath, you can hear the breath. If you can hear the breath, it'll sound like this. Alay. You know that sound? Alay. That kind of a sound. You don't want that. Normally it happens if the tongue is a little bit too high. The middle of the tongue is a little bit too high. So if you lower it a bit, it will make it a little bit easier. Because remember, the breath will make a sound, more of a sound, when it's going through a tight passage. So for example, when you whistle and you go, you make a small, tiny hole with your lips when you whistle, right? So in the same way, if your middle of your tongue comes up too much, there will be such a tiny gap that as the breath comes through, it will make a sound, almost like a whistling, right? It doesn't sound like a whistle in this case. It sounds more like a that kind of sound. You want alay, alay. If you lower the tongue a little bit, it should help with the sound of the breath, inshallah. So we have alayka. Okay, now remember this kaf is from the hard and the soft palate. This isn't the one which is too far back. Okay, so making sure that the makhraj is right and it's one count. We then have the word an. Now an here, whenever you, now notice here, an followed by a hamza. We have a noon sakin followed by a hamza. Here, because the hamza, remember, we have seen something similar to this before, where there was a noon sakin or a tanween, I don't remember which one, but it was followed by a throat letter. And we did touch on this, and we said that if you have a noon sakina, or you have a tanween, which is a double, an in un, followed by a throat letter, then if those of you that do know at home, please do say it out loud to yourself. This is known as idhar halqi. Halqi means of the throat. Okay, so it's of the throat because the next letter after the noon is a throat letter. So this occurs with all the 6 throat letters. Okay, which is ghain, kha, ain, ha, hamza, and ha. Okay, so here, what does that mean? It means that we are doing no holding or stretching of the gunna. We're not blending, we're not hiding the noon, we're pronouncing the noon very clearly. That's what idhar means. Idhar means to pronounce something clearly. So we say an, the noon is tawassut, so we give it some timing, not too long, not too short, in order to make it very clear what's being heard. Okay, an aslamu, an aslamu. You'll notice that the hamza is then joined with the seen. The seen is a rahawa letter. Okay, now if the noon is tawassut and the seen is rahawa, your seen should be longer. You should be spending more time on the seen than you do the noon. So an aslamu, an aslamu. Okay, so a little bit longer on the seen in comparison to the noon sakina. You have the lam, and then you have the mu at the end, which is 2 counts. So let's practice it up until here, inshallah. So Auntie Nasreen, if you'd like to join me for this part. يمنون عليك أن أسلموا.
يمنون عليك أن أسلموا.
Nice, mashallah. The only thing I would say is, Auntie, in your mud wows, both of them, this one and the last one here, it's very easy to do because both of these mud wows have a letter of gunna before them. So the first one has this noon before it. There's the one at the end has the meme before it. Both have a gunna. So it's very easy to pronounce the gunna in the noon or the meme and then just let the gunna continue into the mad wow. But you want to try and avoid that because wow shouldn't have a gunna. Okay. So when you say yamunnu, concentrate when you get to the nu, the oo part, concentrate on where your sound is going. You don't want to be sending it through the nasal cavity. You want it to come through the mouth. To make that easier to do, you have to make sure that when you say no, you have that gap in between the lips. Okay, let's try it on its own first, Auntie. No.
No.
It's still there. So ooh.
Ooh.
This is good. So Auntie, I want you to rhyme it with this sound. I want this same sound at the end of the noon. Ooh, no.
Ooh, no.
It's better, but it's still there. Ooh, when you feel how your ooh is going. Actually, let's try it this way. I want you to say ooh, then I want you to say no ooh, no ooh. We're going to break it up. Ooh, no ooh.
Ooh, no ooh.
Good. Again. Ooh, no ooh.
Ooh, no ooh.
Right, now try no.
No.
It's better. It's better. Alhamdulillah. Let's try it together. يمنون عليك أن أسلموا.
يمنون يمنون عليك أن أسلموا.
So the mu to Auntie, when you say ooh, mu, ooh.
مو أمو
Again.
أمو.
This is a bit better, alhamdulillah. Good. Auntie, you just need to practice this. With time, you'll get there, alhamdulillah. But it is something, because you've got the habit of doing the gunna, unless you make a conscious effort, the gunna will remain. But mashallah, you're definitely on the right lines, mashallah. Well done, alhamdulillah. Okay, then we move on to the word qulla. We have here the lam, okay, followed by another lam. So here you end up having an idgham. We say qulla, قُل, and that's what this shadda is here to tell us, that we are doing idgham. That means we're going to move from the qaf to the lam. We've seen this quite a few times before. قُل, قُل, okay, and then we stretch the lam for 2 counts because of the mad alif, the mad tabi'i here. We have tamunnu, tamunnu. Again, this time the meme is joined with the noon, just how it was here. So I think Sister Zuleika will be explaining to you how these 2 words are basically very much related to each other in terms of their meaning. We've got the mu joined with the nu again. Again, hold the noon mushaddad, tamunnu, tamunnu. Okay. Then we have alayya. Actually, let me get rid of the circles just to tidy it up a little bit. Okay, so then we have the word alayya. Whenever you have a ya mushaddad, okay, or whenever you have a waw mushaddad, we always do the nabar, okay? The nabar is, remember, the emphasizing of a certain letter or a certain syllable. And the reason you have to do that is because if you don't, then there could be a mistake made or a misunderstanding made, okay? Here, what you want to do is if you said, for example, alayya, alayya, it may sound to a listener like you are saying this, alaya, 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 right? Almost like you're doing just a bit of an imala of the lam, alaya, alaya. So what you want, the number is applied here to make sure and to make it very solid to the listener that there is a shadda here, that the ya is joint to the lam before it. So that's the part that we need to emphasize, the joining between the lam and the ya. How do you do this? Remember, this is a slight raising of the voice and it's a slight change in the tone. So instead of, if I did not do the nabar, I would say alayya, alayya, which isn't right, okay? Which isn't quite right. With the nabar, I'll say it again. So without the nabar, alayya, with the nabar, alayya, alayya. Can you hear how now this time it's quite clear that the lam is joined to the ya. So what do? We say alay. We go to the ya. We have a slight, very slight raising of the voice to make that point. Alay, alay. And then when you get to the ya, it's a rahawa letter. So when you join with the ya, get to it and then let it run for a bit. Alay, alayya, 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 alayya. Without the number, it's alayya, alayya. It's very gentle going, right? Alay is the lay part that we want to apply the number to, okay? Then we have the word islamakum. Again, we've got the scene. The scene again is a rahawa letter, so we're going to stay on it. Is. Be careful not to say is, is, okay? Keep it running. Isla, isla. We have a mat tabi'i here with the lam, so it's going to be 2 counts. Islamakum, islamakum. You held the scene for the rahawa. You held the lam with the mad alif because of the mad alif for 2 counts. Be careful not to prolong the meme. There is no stretching of this one, okay? So islamakum. Islamakum, Islamakum. Okay, getting the timing right here. The meme at the end, because we are stopping, is a tawassut letter. So again, Islamakum, kum. Just staying on it, not too long, not too short. Okay, right. Let's try this, inshallah, together. So, Sister Salma, if you'd like to join me for this part. قُل لَا تَمُنُّوا عَلَيَّ إِسْلَامَكُمْ.
قل لا تمنوا علي إسلامكم.
Okay, I know for you the gunna in the mud is a little bit challenging, right? I want you to try it the way that I did with Auntie, where before you join, we are going to add an extra step when we join the mud. So you say ooh, then the same ooh, nu ooh, nu ooh. I want you to just say that first. Nu ooh, nu ooh.
نؤ.
Very nice. Say it again. We'll do it 3 times. Nu-u, nu-u, nu-u.
نؤ نؤ نؤ.
Right, you're feeling how your voice is traveling, yes, for the u part, right? So now try nu-u, nu.
nu, nu.
It's there a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
feels
a
a bit
little bit.
nasally.
The other
Yeah.
thing, of course, you can do is, when you sometimes teachers will often say when people are doing the gunna, they'll say, block your nose, right? The thing about blocking your nose here though is if you've got to block it at the right time, because when you say mun, the first part, you are going to have the gunna, so you can't block it for that part. You have to say tamunnu. Just when you get to that last ube, tamunnu, at the end, block it. So that's the other way that you can try it. But what I think is, if you keep on practicing with the nu, 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 because when you're saying it wrong, eventually you will start saying it right. Okay, so just keep on working with that, inshallah. Allah bless you, Sister Salma. Jazakumullahu khairan. If I could, oh no, alhamdulillah, that's fine. Okay, let's move on to the next part of this ayah, the last part. Okay, we have here Balillahu. Now here we have the name of Allah. We do need to think about the lambs, whether they are heavy or light. So those of you at home, have a guess. Why do you read the lambs in the name of Allah here? Do we read them heavy or light? Say it to yourself, the heavy or the light, and then explain to yourself why you think that is. Okay, so here the lambs are going to be read light. We've seen a lot of heavy ones in the previous ayat. This one is light. Why is it light? Because we look at the letter before, there's nothing at the top. Okay, instead we have a kasra at the bottom. Okay, this is similar to when we say Bismillah, right? Bismillah. We do not say Bismillah, right? Bismillah. The lam is light. And that also has a kasra before it. So does this one. The lambs are light. Balillahu, balillahu, balillahu. But remember, when you join the first lam with the first lam in the name of Allah, remember it's a tawassut letter. So first of all, no jerky, no balil, balil. There shouldn't be like this, right? It's balil, balillahu, balillahu. It's a very gentle flow, okay, of the voice. You get to the who at the end, one count, right? I don't think I need to remind you about the mud again in the name of Allah. So here we have balillahu, balillahu. We have the word yamunnu again. So this kind of tells us we're definitely on the same topic. We've seen yamunnu at the beginning. We had tamunnu later on. We're having yamunnu, all from the same family. Yamunnu, again, yamunnu. So you hold the noon mushaddad, you hold the joining of it, but you'll notice there's a big difference here. In yamunnuna, we had a mad waw after the noon. In tamunnu, we also had a mad waw after the noon. Here there is no mad waw, which means we don't stretch the ending anymore. This is going to be one count at the end. Yamunnu, yamunnu, just one count at the end. Okay. We have the word alaykum, which we had alayya, although that had the number, so I guess we had alayka. Okay, very similar to alayka. This time we have alaykum, alaykum. Just reminder, the ya is a rahawa letter, and this is a lean letter. So we say alaykum, alaykum. Okay, we then have the word an again, and we notice here that after the noon sakina we have the letter ha. So remind yourself, how do we produce this letter ha? It has been discussed in the past. We have mentioned the makhraj of the ha. So remind yourself first, why is the makhraj of the ha? Hopefully you've said to yourself, it's from the throat. Once you know it's from the throat, now you need to think, okay, so what rule is it? Because we did mention throat letters, and we did see it earlier today. Just how we had an aslamu, it was an aslam, noon sakin followed by a throat letter. We have here noon sakin followed by a throat letter. So as you can see, it doesn't matter which throat letter it is. It could be any throat letter, any of the six which appear after the noon sakin or the tanween. And in that case, what are we doing? We're pronouncing the noon clearly. So this is again idhar, okay, halqi, okay, because it's a throat letter. So what do we do? The tawassut of the noon, an hadakum. أن هداكم. Sister Humara, if you'd like to join me for this part. بل الله يمن عليكم أن هداكم.
Balillahu yamunnu alaykum an hadakum.
I want you to stay relaxed when you say anha. When you get to this ha, anhadakum.
An hadakum.
Much better. Jazakumullahu khairan. And then we come to the second half of this line. We have lil iman. So li is joined with the sukoon on the next lam. So we're joining two lams here. Lil. And then you have this alif. Okay, the alif has a hamza underneath. So remember we were talking about sometimes a hamza can be found with other letters. It can be found on a waw, it can be found on a ya, it could be found on top of an alif, it could be found on top of, below an alif. In this case, what we've got essentially here is an alif with a hamza underneath. Okay, so remember we did say that in this case you recite for Hafs and Asim, for the riwayah of Hafs and Asim, we read the hamza, not the other letter. So we're not reading the alif here, we're reading it as a hamza. Lil e. It is followed by a mad ya, which means that this mad is a mad badal. Okay, we've seen it before. Mad badal is again 2 counts, stretched for 2 counts. The meme is followed by a regular mad tabi'i, which is also 2 counts. So here it's about balance. Lil imani, imani, ima. Same amount of time for the e and the ma, both doubled in comparison to the one length haraka. Okay. The lam, of course, we know when we say lil, lil is a tawassut letter. Lil iman. Okay. Then we come to the next. It's the same rule twice what we're seeing now. So we've got noon sakin followed by the kaf. Then we have a noon sakin followed by the ta. Both of these are ikhfa haqiqis. And both of them are followed by light letters. The kaf is a light letter, the ta is a light letter, sorry. So these are both pronounced with a light gunna. Now, the thing here is, remember we were talking about if it's a kaf or a qaf. Remember, I made a small note on 2 occasions with a qaf and a kaf at the top. I said, ikhfa haqiqi is the one where you prepare for the next letter, right? You're not pronouncing the next letter, you're not pressing on the articulation point of the next letter, but you're close to it. And we said qaf and kaf were the exception, right? I hope this is ringing a bell for all of you at home. We said that this was an exception because what you do here is you actually do go to the makhraj of the qaf or the kaf, and you do press whilst you're doing the gunna, whilst you're saying whilst you're pronouncing that whilst you're pronouncing that sound, the back of the tongue is pressing on the kaf. So it actually sounds like ing. Okay, if I wasn't pressing at the top, it would sound like yeah. It's like the sound is I'm doing the gunna, but the back of the tongue is not up. So you need the back of the tongue pressing for the on the makhraj of the kaf. Ing. And then when we get to the word, the next part, which is kuntum. Now this ta, when we see the noon sakin followed by the ta, the second ikhfa is a regular ikhfa, which means this time we do it the normal way, the regular way, which is get ready for the ta, go close to the ta, but don't press on the ta like you did the kaf. Okay, so you do just the gunna, kuntum. If I was pressing on the top, it would sound like this, kun, and you don't want that sound. It's kuntum. Okay, so what you find here is because whilst you're doing the gunna, your tongue's in different places. When you say in kuntum, the back of the tongue is up, out the makhraj of the kaf, and you're pressing on it. With the second one, the back of the tongue is not involved. Instead, the tip of the tongue is close to the ta, but you're not pressing on it. For that reason, because for both of those cases where the sound is going through the nasal cavity, because your tongue is in a different position for both gunnas sound different. So when you say ing, sounds different to gua, ing, gua, ing, gua. The, 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 gunna sound different. And this is one of the lovely things about the ikhfa, is that every ikhfa will, the gunna will sound different because your tongue is always either prepared for the next letter or pressing on a different makhraj, and that gives a different sound, a different sweetness to the gunna. Okay, so this is in kuntum. But remember, you're prolonging each one. Okay, this is kamil gunna for those of you that have done the course. Okay, this is kamil gunna. It's not the longest gunna. It's not akmal gunna. It's kamil gunna. It's a little bit less timing. In kuntum. If you could try that, Sister Farhat.
إن كنتم
Not bad. The ta can be a little bit lighter just when you say tum. In kuntum.
إن كنتم.
Not bad, mashallah. It was better. It was better. I'll give you one more shot. In kuntum.
إن كنتم.
Just when you said kun, something was touching at the top. Maybe the middle of the tongue. So just keeping it clear. In kuntum.
إن كنتم.
It's better, alhamdulillah, jazakumullahu khairan. And then we come to the final word, sadiqeen. Sad is a letter that has isti'la. It's heavy. It's got that raising of the tongue and the elevation of the sound of the voice. And it is also a letter of itbaq. So it has that extra heaviness. How is that extra heaviness? Itbaq actually means trapping. So you're trying to trap the sound inside the voice. Trap the sound inside the mouth. Alhamdulillah, got there. Right. So how do you achieve that? It's to do with, now I've touched on this, I mean, not touched on it, but I have mentioned it a few times in whenever we've seen an itbaq letter, how the sound is directed vertically towards the middle of the upper palate. I can't speak today, I'm sorry. Towards the middle of the upper palate, right? So what happens is when that happens is, because if this is your middle palate and the sound is coming up here, then what happens is the sound starts bouncing around, okay? Because it's more vertical, the bounce is more perpendicular, okay? You have these smaller angles and this makes the sound, and this bouncing creates an echoey effect, okay? So instead of the sound just coming straight out the mouth, which is nice and easy, instead it's bouncing off the roof of the upper palate, okay? So you hear, instead of hearing sa, you're hearing saw, saw, saw. You have this slight echoey sound. So think about the direction of the sound here, directly up towards the middle of the upper palate. Saw, nice and heavy. The back of the tongue is up. We're making like a sound. Saw, sadiqeen, sadiqeen. The qaf, of course, we know, just be careful of the qaf, making sure this one is the one right at the back where the tongue moves diagonally backwards and upwards, okay? Sadiqeen, sadiqeen. The noon again, if we're stopping, is at the wasut letter. For those of you that know the alif here, mad tabi'i, harakatain, waslan wa waqfan. The ya here is mad tabi'i, harakatain, waslan. However, if we're stopping, mad aarid li sukun, 2 4 6 count, waqfan. Okay. Let's try reading this, inshallah. So, Auntie Nasreen, if you'd like to join me for this part. Balillahu yamunnu alaykum an hadakum.
بل الله يمن عليكم أن هداكم.
Alhamdulillah, Auntie, mashallah, well done with your lam. Your lam was very nice, mashallah. Good, alhamdulillah, in the name of Allah. Yamunnu, you just prolong the noon at the end. So remember this one, we don't prolong the noon at the end. Yamunnu. Try that again, Auntie. Actually, let's do both words together. Yamunnu alaykum.
يمن عليكم.
And that squeeze for the ayn, Auntie. Yamunnu alaykum.
يمن عليكم.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Sister Farhat, if you'd like to finish this part off for me. أن هداكم للإيمان إن كنتم صادقين.
أن هداكم للإيمان إن كنتم صادقين.
You just have to be very careful with the in kuntum, because what happens is with the ing, because your tongue at the back is already touching, by the time you get to the kun, you have to make a conscious effort to keep the upper palate free, not to let the tongue touch the top. Okay, so just be wary of that. When you focus on that, you can fix it. So just be keeping that in mind, inshallah. Let's do the ayah from the top. So if I bring in Sister Salma, yeah, Sister Salma, please. يَمُنُّونَ عَلَيْكَ أَنْ أَسْلَمُوا.
يمنون عليك أن أسلموا.
Well done. Your madud were much better. Alhamdulillah. It's really nice because we're coming towards the end of the series, and I've just seen a very good improvement already in the ghunna of the mad wows there. So well done, Sister Salma, mashallah, very nice. Sister Humaira, if you can do the next part with me, please. وَلَا تَمُنُّوا عَلَيَّ إِسْلَامَكُمْ.
قل لا تمنوا علي إسلامكم.
Jazakumullah. Well done with the kaf, mashallah. Because I know with the kaf you've had to, in the past we've worked on the kaf, so mashallah you got it first time, alhamdulillah. Sister Zuleika, if you'd like to do some of the bottom line with me, please.
Yeah.
Balillahu yamunnu alaykum an hadakum.
بل الله يمن عليكم أن هداكم.
Okay, mashallah, good. If I could just get you to repeat just the first two words. Balillahu.
بل الله.
Try that one more time. Balillahu.
بل الله.
It's just your ba. The ba is a little bit on the heavy side. So I want you to I want you to say first of all fa,
fa.
And now we're going to rhyme the ba with the fa. So the same ending that you have to the fa, and then the same at the end of ba. Fa, I'm going to do it with the mud. Fa, ba.
Fa, ba.
Yes, I don't know if you notice how the tone sort of changed between the two. It was like fa, ba, fa, ba, fa, ba, fa, ba.
Fa, ba.
Yes. So,
okay.
yeah, so you just need to maintain that. Let's try that again. Fa, ba.
Fa, ba.
Good. Now we're going to reduce the timing and make it 1-1 count each. Fa, ba.
Fa, ba.
Good. Now keep the ba. Balil. We'll just say ba. We'll just say bali, just for the sake of practice. Bali.
Bali.
Oh, it's changed. Let's do it. Fa, ba.
Fa, ba.
Bali. I know it sounds strange because it's only a little bit. Bali.
Bali. Fa, ba. Bali.
This ba changed a little bit. So let's try fa, bali.
Fa, bali.
Yes. Remember, keep concentrating on the ba sound, rhyming it with the fa. Fa, bali.
Fa, bali.
Yes, good. Alhamdulillah. Sometimes it could be two reasons. Okay. Sometimes what happens is when people say ba, their tongue at the back is shifting. Okay. I don't think it's that with you. It may be, but what I think you do is, when you separate the lips, you can either push the sound out and say ba, or you can make it go like ba, 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 where the sound kind of, it's not pushed out. You separate the lips, but you kind of keep the sound inside the mouth. So it's just letting the sound come out. Just like say fa, ba, keeping that flow consistent. Okay. Let's try that one more time. Sorry, I have gone over time. Balillahu yamunnu alaykum an hadakum.
Balillahu. Sorry. Balillahu yamunnu alaykum an hadakum.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Just keep practicing with that. Alhamdulillah. This time it was better, but it wasn't as good as when you did it on its own. So get really comfortable with the fa, ba, and then try different words. Ba, la, ba, li, ba, different words like that, and just keep practicing like that, inshallah. But mashallah, I think this is something you can fix quickly, inshallah. And right at the end, Auntie Nasreen, sorry, I'm trying to just quickly wrap up now. Auntie Nasreen, if you could finish this off for me, please. أن هداكم للإيمان إن كنتم صادقين.
أن هداكم للإيمان إن كنتم صادقين.
Yes, the only thing is when you say the ing, Auntie, I can hear you moving very slowly. Ing. It's like a wave from the when you say e, the hamza, and then you kind of waving across to the kaf. I want it to be nice and straight. E, ing. So your tongue, don't bring it up slowly to the kaf. Once you want to say the kaf, bring the tongue there straight away. Ing, kuntum.
إن كنتم
It's better.
صادقين.
It's better. Let's try it one more time. Ing, just that.
إن
Inku.
إنكو.
You still got that little bit, Auntie. So after the E, straight quickly to the kaf. Ing.
إنكو.
Yes, mashallah, this is better. Alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah khairan, Auntie. We'll stop there, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan, everybody. Please do join us for tomorrow is our last and final session, inshallah. May Allah accept it from us. And please stay with us because Sister Zuleika, inshallah, will be doing the tafsir and the word-to-word of these same ayat. Jazakumullah khairan. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.